Hello guys, it is Brittany here and welcome back to my Colorguard YouTube channel. If you're watching this video, I'm going to assume you want to learn more about this fabulous piece of equipment right here. If that is the case, then please keep watching. Today we have yet another exciting video for you. Today we're adventuring more into the land of tossing basics, and today we're going to learn how to do a quad. So if you want to learn how to do that, keep watching. So first things first, like I talked about in all of my other tossing videos, as kind of a disclaimer, if you do not know how to do a triple or a double or a single, do not learn how to do a quad first. So if you learn how to do a super tie toss first and you don't know the technique for the ones below it, your technique is going to be terrible. That's how you're going to learn how to do the toss, and it's going to be really hard to fix your technique, and it's going to give you and your instructors a huge headache, so don't do that to them or yourself. And just learn how to do the toss below it properly first and then work your way up to this one. But if you already know how to do a triple and all the tosses below it, good for you. I'm sorry for talking so long, and let's move on to how to do this quad. So first things first, we're going to start off at a left flat, left hand fist away from the bolt, palm up to the sky. Both thumbs are pressed down my rifle, so as if they're pointing towards my nose. If you have a little button right here in your strap, you should have your pointer finger, your middle finger right next to it. Right hand is going to be all the way to the end of your rifle, pinky covering the very end. Want to have nice, strong, boxed out arms so we have energy over our rifle, so that way we control it, it does not control us. And then we can lead into our next part, which is our nice, strong dip. So we're here, standing nice and tall. We're going to squeeze the count before we need to dip, which in this case would be 7. We're going to dip on 8. We're going to dip nice and strong. My right hand is going to be right by my shoulder, left hand right by my hip at what I call a crossbody angle. So kind of think about like a seatbelt and try to mimic that with your rifle. Number one thing, like I always say with dips, is you want to think about kind of pulling apart. So as if my right hand's pulling this way and my left hand's pulling me this way. So that way I can activate my back muscles. So that way I'm using my back muscles, not just my arms, because if you don't have a lot of arm strength, you might find it really hard to do higher tosses. But if you use your back muscles, that's going to help you no matter what and make all of these easier. So make sure you use those back muscles. You should feel it. Start right from about your spine and trickle all the way down to your fingers. You feel nice and strong. So we're here, we're pulling apart, nice and strong. Now remember, like I said in our other videos, this is our gas pedal, okay? Push straight down. The second you push down and it gives you enough energy, this arm, which is my right arm, needs to stay glued to my leg, okay? It cannot leave, because the second I try to reach up and grab my rifle, I'm gonna A, either hurt myself, B, stop my rifle too early, which meaning I'll probably drop, and C, like I mentioned before, you'll probably drop, and we don't want any of those things to happen. Okay, so make sure your right arm stays glued the entire time you toss. I know it's hard, but it's something to work at. Left hand, like I mentioned, we have a single here, double's about our shoulder, triple's gonna be a little higher. I usually use my chin for reference, because a quad really set at this angle, which is, you know, a 90-degree or a little box corner as I say it. And I always think about doing this with my arm because it really helps me remember where it needs to be, and just think about the bottom of my arm being flat. That's kind of my goal. So remember, our fingertips are straight, we release our rifle at this angle, and we're releasing at a 90-degree angle with my left arm. I already talked about your right arm is your gas pedal. It needs to stay down always, always, always. Do not lift it up, especially now that we're creeping into higher toss territory like quads, 5s, and 6s. It is the hardest thing to do, is to keep that arm down. So you need to hold it for longer and really focus on keeping this arm down and just watching your rifle do its thing, because I promise is if you did all of these steps right, your rifle's going to do its thing just fine and you'll catch it as long as you keep your arm down. So now that I've talked about placement, how to do all of that stuff, we know how to release here. One thing is, now that we're creeping into higher tosses, is you still, you know, squeeze and engage your muscles by count 7 of your prep, dip and pull apart nice and strong at count 8, and release on 1. But now I'm having to use all of this extra energy to where I can go to release a single from here on 1, or I can release a quad on here on 1. So this speed is very necessary to get the proper toss, because like I said, now we're creeping into higher toss territory. If you don't come here fast enough, you're not going to get a quad. So think about this, hitting this angle is important, have your fingertips straight is important, yada yada yada. But another thing you have to add on to your laundry list of things you need to remember about tossing is keeping this quick. Quick motion. You can do this in one count, or you can do this in one count. Know the difference, very important. So before we release our quad, we need to know two quick important things that kind of matter more as we get into our higher tosses. I didn't really mention it in our lower tosses because this is where it really starts to matter in like quad 5 territory. So the most important thing you need to know is how to count your tosses. So this toss in particular, the way I was taught to count, it's different everywhere, so I'm just saying this from personal experience. And for my students, is when you release a quad, you should catch on 3 and. So if I'm counting, I should go 5, 6, 7, 8, 1 and 2 and 3 and. I know a quad is 4 rotations, but it starts to get quicker the higher we go. So you will catch a quad on 3 and then it'll be like basically a half each time you go up or down. Typically, it changes. If you need to know for future tosses, I will talk about this in the future videos and give you the actual peak counts, which is what they're called, by the way. So just know next step what peak counts are, because that's our catch count. So we know our release count is 1, our catch count is 3 and your peak will basically be in the middle of that. And the peak is where you should be able to see whether your toss is too low or too high, or if it's just right, because it should hit that peak and it'll basically start spinning, hit this peak and start coming back down. Because obviously the higher we go, it'll have to reach a peak at some point and then it'll come back down, because all things that go up must come back down. So your peak count, so we know 1 is our release, 2 and should be our peak count, that should fall 3 and should be your catch. So it'll kind of get there slowly and then it'll kind of fall pretty fast. That's usually why our peak count and our catch count are usually closer than our release count and our peak count. I know it's a lot of weird numbers and kind of feels like math, and that's gross because we're color guard people, not math people. But just so you know, those are super important so that we can keep your tosses consistent and also keep them in your hands. Okay, I've talked about all of that stuff. Let me show you guys what a quad should look like. And 6, and 5, 6, 7, 8. Videos. If you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, or recommendations for future videos that you do not see on my channel, leave them in the comment section down below, because I'm more than happy to answer questions or film video for you guys that you need, because you guys deserve to learn just a little bit more about color guard every day. But other than that, I don't have much else for you guys today, but I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye!